Good evening, everyone. It's me, the devil. It's been a rough year down here in hell. Sin is on the down, salvation's on the rise, and the roof's leaking again. What am I supposed to do? Gluttony was one of my best gifts to humanity, and what? The best they can do is a golden corral? In an effort to quell my worries, I've taken up a vice. I bought a couch. Sloth is every man's God-given right, and if they're not going to take advantage of it, I will. Let's get to sinning. I've already got sloth. Next up is pride. Given the time I had, this is the best I could do. We'll check it anyways. Next up is wrath, and I think I know just what to do. I fucking hate bricks! Antonblast Deluxe was such a cute little game. A block breaker with Wario Land influence was such a unique idea, and it certainly helped that the game was really fun on top of that. It's clear that the studio behind the game, Summit Sphere, had a lot of talent behind them, so when I started seeing posts about their next game, a proper 2D platformer with heavy inspirations from Crash Bandicoot, classic cartoons, and of course Wario Land, I was instantly interested. Despite it piquing my interest, I wasn't fully convinced early on. The game looked good and seemed like it would be a fun time, but after trying the game's first demo, it didn't click with me the same way similar games like Rayman Origins or Pizza Tower did. Flash forward to 2025, and this might not be only one of the best platformers I've ever played, but the most fun I've had with any video game at all. I played through the game on the Steam Deck on day one, and from the second I booted the game up, I was hooked. I've played my fair share of 2D platformers from the NES to modern day, and there are few games that are worth your money as much as Antonblast. But what makes the game so great? Like I said, the game never clicked with me even only months before the game's release. What makes this game so fun now that wasn't there before? Well, let's start off with one of the biggest upgrades from Antonblast Deluxe, the entire presentation. Antonblast was very much inspired by early Game Boy Advance games, and boy does it feel like it. The weird screen filter, the simple arcade-style gameplay, and just the overall simplicity of the game definitely harkens back to those early GBA titles. And while charming, it is somewhat boring from time to time, something that Antonblast could be called anything but. If Antonblast is an early GBA game, Antonblast is late into that console's life. The colors pop so much brighter, and there's just a level of complexity that was lacking in its predecessor. It's not forcing itself into the constraints of the time, instead going all out with all sorts of graphical effects. There's wrecking balls that swing back and forth from the camera, the squashing, stretching, and rotation that looks like it was plucked directly from Mario Advance, and the sheer amount of things happening at any time is insane. There's constant explosions and poker chips bouncing about, and the game doesn't slow down for a single second. While the general visual style of the game is inspired by the GBA and late 90s spunk, it never feels constrained to that. It's never afraid to mix up the art style, like in one of the later levels using a compressed claymation style similar to Hylix, or the first boss's ending looking ripped directly from an NES game. The character designs have also seen much needed upgrades. The designs in Antonblast mostly seemed like bootleg Fantendo traces of WarioWare characters, but Antonblast completely reinvents these characters entirely into their own things. Anton is no longer a legally distinct Wario. He's got an attitude that's completely his own, and the new art style really makes him pop. This goes double for Annie, who has gone from Anton's female alternative to this disgusting and destructive creature. Even characters like the returning Brulo and the all-new Satan have these fantastic designs that are just so perfectly unique to Anton's world. I also love how they translated a ton of elements from Antonblast, really making this feel like it's a part of the same series. The bosses from Ball returning as mini-bosses, characters being given new roles, music returning with fantastic remixes. Paul. The entire universe has this clear 90s edge and always feels a little grimy, with graffiti lining the walls, garbage being littered everywhere, and the general roughness that everything is textured with. Backgrounds will have this gravelly texture applied to them, which makes everything feel like you're in a real shithole. Boiler City is Chicago on steroids. So Chicago. And we need to talk about this animation. We really need to. Everything in this game is so incredibly lively. The boss fights feel like Cuphead bosses with how animated these characters are, and this opening cutscene has the same energy as the adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog that, in combination with this game's fantastic art style, immediately made me love the game. This is in no small part to this game's main antagonist, Satan. While clearly inspired by Robotnik from the adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog being this dramatic and overly nefarious fat guy, the voice voice and way he's written really sets him apart as his own thing. I love how much of this game clearly displays its inspirations, while never letting them just be bootlegs of them. I remember playing the game RZ and seeing so many characters that were just derivative of the CDI titles that inspired the game, and among other issues, this really made the game feel like it's already been done before. Antonblast never lives in the shadow of its inspirations, instead bursting out and setting the bar higher. This translates directly into the gameplay. Like I said, the game is so clearly inspired by the likes of Wario Land 4 and Crash Bandicoot, but it climbs so much higher. Your main form of attack is your hammer charge, feeling like a mix between the spin from Rayman Origins and Wario's shoulder bash. This propels you forward and has you slam into whatever it collides with, and if you time it right, you can launch through the enemy and gain extra speed. This move is so satisfying to pull off and just fun to rip around with during gameplay. This was actually changed from the original demo, which initially had you do a standard Wario-style shoulder bash, but was changed to differentiate the two characters. This was a fantastic change because it also altered the center of gravity on Anton, instead forcing the emphasis on his destructive hammer rather than his arms. The developers even added a CTR drift mechanic to the charge, allowing you to link your speed if you time your button presses. It's just so fun to charge through levels as fast as you can, trying to never lose your clutch combo. Additional moves are a vault jump to gain extra height, a slide move to break through small openings, and a ground pound to go straight through any obstacles. All these moves in combination with the hammer slam give Anton a completely rounded out moveset that's easy to use, but takes a bit of time to master. Your goal in each level is to collect the spirits stolen from you, hit the switch, and book it for the exit. Clearly inspired by Wario Land 4's frog clock mechanic, Antonblast has you sprinting back to the beginning, with you usually being forced to take new detours or going back with a new twist on how you play. Anton's run back to the beginning leans closer to the Wario Land side of things rather than the Pizza Tower side. Pizza Tower is almost exclusively about platforming and reaction, which works with Peppino's more speed-based and frantic playstyle. While Anton definitely has its reaction-based moments, there's a lot more precision platforming and puzzle solving. It's an extremely tense and extremely fun take on this mechanic. It certainly helps set the stakes with Anton screaming and the intense music kicking in. The main collectible is one of the spirits stolen away from you by Satan. These will usually be on the direct path to the switch and are never too hard to grab. In addition to the spirits, you can also find 3 additional collectibles in each stage. You can find a cassette tape that can be listened to later on, a spray can that changes your character's color palette, and a piece of trash that exists. These are always tucked away behind a difficult piece of platforming or hidden out of view. This game also has a currency with the chips scattered around the level, and these are a fun little addition. The sound effects that play when you collect them are some of the most satisfying from any collectible in any game I've ever played. You can exchange these for goodies at Brulo's shop in the overworld for more sprays, health upgrades, and funny. Because the only thing funnier than an inside joke you don't understand is an inside joke nobody can understand. The levels in Antonblast are some of the best I've played in any 2D platformer. The theming is comparable in creativity to the best of the Little Big Planet games and goes even further beyond sometimes. A mall where you complete short challenges to increase the amount of time you have during happy hour. A mineshaft that has you caving deeper and deeper to find the switch. And a level so jaw-dropping that you have to play it completely blind. The game never lingers on one idea for too long and is always eager to one-up itself. The game never forgets about any moves you have and uses them all to the fullest. It never feels like the Boost Sonic games where they only use the slide to remind you that it exists. You will be using every move you have until the credits roll. A specific detail I love is the switching from the background to the foreground, harkening back to Virtual Boy Wario Land. Many games have attempted this, like Donkey Kong Country Returns, Mutant Mudds, and even a few stages in Mario Wonder, but none of them get as much mileage out of this as Antonblast. In all the previous games, this can feel like a gimmick or set piece, rather than an actual thought-out piece of level design. Look, the guy's far in the distance!
So am I!
While Anton does use this as a neat visual, it also uses it really cleverly in the level design, allowing one room to have multiple different layers to expand puzzles, hide secrets, or even just sort of sub-area within a larger area. It's similar to the anti-gravity in Mario Kart 8, a flashy mechanic that serves to expand the level design in a way that frees up more space for creativity to shine. One thing I definitely didn't expect was how good the boss fights are. Even with 2D platformers that I love, I find the boss fights are some of the most boring parts. Antonblast has these massive Cuphead-style bosses that almost always blow me away. While some of the mini-bosses are a bit simple, the end-world bosses are absolutely insane. The bosses have some of the biggest personalities for characters that you only see once and never again, taking full advantage of every single idea that the developers could come up with. Something that makes Anton feel unique in comparison to other bosses is the fact that they use health bars. Most 2D platformer bosses have the enemy run through their attacks until they're prone, giving you an opportunity to hit them. This is the formula that Mario, Sonic, and Rayman use, and while the formula works, it can lead to the genre's bosses feeling stale. Antonblast uses a health bar, which I feel not only leads to more uncertainty in the amount of hits you have left, but also leads to a difference in player mindset. It's no longer, I only have to hit him 3 more times. It's now, get him! It leads to a game that feels completely unique and extremely exhilarating to complete. The only issue I really have is the level count, with the game only having 12 levels and a handful of bosses. This is less of an actual issue and more of me being filled with greed. The game's levels are so well thought out and fun to run through, can you blame me for wanting more? The games most compared to Antonblast, Wario Land 4, and Pizza Tower both have about 20 levels in both, so when Anton only had 12, it was a bit surprising. I feel like if the game just had 2 or 3 more levels, it would be perfect, but as it stands, the game is still pretty damn good. Even with the slightly shorter level count, you'll still end up going back to them multiple times to get all the collectibles. When the worst thing I have to say about the game is that I just want there to be more, you know that it's one of the best. It's less of a complaint and more of a reason to check a box. One thing that's clearly evident while playing the game is that the creators clearly have a passion for games, but in a very respectable way. It's not because of the references in the spray can flavor text or the general homage that the game is to the best of GBA titles, but instead the way that the game is designed. The game always prioritizes fun first from start to end. Early versions of the game had a combo counter similar to Pizza Tower that was eventually removed because it led to players getting frustrated and trying to keep the combo going rather than exploring the level. It caused players to rush and generally left them with a feeling of dissatisfaction. A lot of developers would keep the function in because the players choose the buttons they press, and this is more content and challenge, where the Anton devs realized that this guided the players into a play state that would alienate the average player. They removed moves from the beta and changed it to moves that better fit Anton as a character, that made him more fun to control. It shows a real love for the medium that they continue to make the game better and receive feedback even after the first demo released. Every level is so finely crafted, it is never boring. Even on a third playthrough, you will still be loving these levels as much as the first time you played them. Kids these days have such fantastic games that they don't know how bad it could really be. Pocahontas on Sega Genesis, Yo-Noid on NES, Pocahontas on Game Boy. These are the kinds of games I grew up with, so I know how bad a 2D platformer can really be. Kids these days grow up with fantastic platformers like Mario Wonder, Pizza Tower, and of course Antonblast. I'm sure having the opposite of garbage helps a child better manage their emotions instead of doing what I did. Still, I could only be envious of how nice kids have it now, but maybe it's for the best.
Wait. That's it!
Welcome to hell, home of the sinners, the damned, and me. With sin on the up and up, I've been really making some major changes. Fire and brimstone is doubled, ghouls and ghosts are tripled, and hey, I even got a brand deal with Nestle. I'm too big to fail. Eternal damnation has never looked so good, and nothing will be able to stop me! Your Honor, I'd like it on the record that the unlicensed open heart surgery had nothing to do with the employment of child labor.